Hey, what's up, guys? I have some, I guess you could say Kickstarter, right? Kickstarter comics. These are actually not mine. These are on loan from my oldest friend in the horror vein. He's a big. I'm not. You know me how I feel about crowdfunding, but he supports it, and he lent me some of these things for the Halloween season. Um, the funny thing about to me with the Kickstarter comics is that eventually they all get printed legitimately, right? But you get perks or whatever. I don't know. I'm still kind of iffy. Actually, I'm not iffy at all. But he loaned me this for the season, and we'll just go through them. Do some editing here. Try to keep it a little more focused. So there's a Shadow over Innsmouth 3-part comic adaptation, right? I'm not familiar with Blue Fox Comics. Okay. Then there is, of course, this, which is part 104. Matt Wagner. You know I'm a big Matt Wagner fan. I'm gonna go over real quick in another video. The latest Grendel series is really cool. And of course Kelley Jones. Big fan of Kelley Jones. This is more Dracula. What the hell is this about? Wow. And man, a blast from the past. Look at that cool logo. Faust, Love Another Damn. This thing, David Quinn, Tim Vigil. Now, I had talked about this comic when I was real young. Okay, God, this shows you the passage of time. Okay, my oldest friend, it's about 2 years older than me. I could not buy the first issue of this comic because it was age graded. I forgot what age you had to be to get it. I was too young, but he was old enough to get it, and he bought it for me. Of course, this is from the '80s, but we'll go over each one briefly. None of these are bad. Pretty much, these are actually pretty good. So. Here, adaptation, of course, The Shadow of Innsmouth. Now, I've been rereading my Lovecraft. It gets more chilling to read these Lovecraft stories in so many ways now. Okay, with truly a prophet of doom. Call of Cthulhu is one of my favorites, and it was The Shadow of Innsmouth. Just rereading it, it's just like wow. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not even gonna have to bring it up. So, in terms of let's talk about just the adaptations. I will say right off the bat, I don't do what I don't like. I don't like the this is good art. It's not the art style. I don't prefer this kind of art style. I don't know how to describe it, but it's good. It's sufficient. It tells the story. Of course, the thing here is the protagonist is drawn to look exactly like Lovecraft. Essentially, it is Lovecraft. Right? You can argue every story is Lovecraft, just like narrating. And it gets across basically Shadow of Innsmouth. Okay, a town, a city that has seen better days. And when certain people uh, moved in, then everything changed. And there's still the whole thing is that there's still people that live there, okay, who remember how it used to be, who are now, either want to get the hell out, or they're like my man Zadok Allen, basically a wino who gives warning, the protagonist. And yeah, Lovecraft. Yeah, this was actually pretty good. I think there's more adaptions. My friend mentioned there's more Kickstarters of these. If you're a completist, there wasn't really. Also, there was none of that. Well, there was none of that stuff we don't like, explicitly, which is usually what is done. Okay? There were little minor things done here, like for example, the only woman in the story I remember is this woman here in the beginning when she shows him the tiara. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. This woman's on the cover. This woman is just a character. She's the character that tells him, you know, about the. I mean, she serves no function. She doesn't really exist. She was put in, I guess, to put a woman in here to direct him from where he's at to don't miss the last bus. All right, whatever. Just a few. Oh, these are very stiff books. Of course, there's no mention of the certain symbol that was used to ward off these people back in the day, you know. And also he meets some very influential people like the FBI. What is that? That looks like the hell is that stupid actor I don't like? Who's basically the same age and the same demo as me, but I forgot his name. The actor everybody loves. What the hell is his name? That goes to show you. But yeah, it was pretty decent, pretty decent. So whatever, you put a woman in there. You put. I'll show you. Actually, I will show you something interesting here. Of course, there's little backups. One of the cats stories, which I'm not a cat. I like cats actually, but I'm not like a cat person. The statement of Randolph Carter. Okay, this is Randolph Carter. So the way these books are bound, it's like it's hard to do one-handed. So this is Randolph Carter. He's a brother. Hey, what's up? Now, it's also interesting that obviously the story doesn't have him in jail. In the beginning. What are you trying to say, lady? But the funny thing, I mean, it's a faithful adaptation. Except at the end, they also have him here, as a bookend. Of course, one of the greatest short stories in terms of the effect of the whole idea of the ancient tomb and like the modern radio device here. The irony being that you don't see the horror in it, you hear it over this intercom, and of course the thing at the end, we all know the whole thing. I mean, what kind of brother would I wouldn't go there in the first place, and the second you heard it all about the legions of the curse, these hellish legions, my man would have been out. That's it, I'm you wouldn't even there wouldn't have been a story, and that is to their credit. Okay. So anyway, yeah, not bad, man. It was it could have been worse. I'm not a fan of the art style, but there really was none of that. There was nothing really big. There was nothing really big in it. There was no undermining Lovecraft in this. So, all right, now I like Kelley Jones, man. I like the work he's done, the Batman stuff, and of course Matt Wagner. I'm back from the Grendel days. I've shown you Matt when he was with the first stuff he ever drew. When they had when they reprinted the original early Grendel. And then the subsequent ones. And like I said, the news Grendel is friggin' awesome, dude. But of course, in this, Matt is writing and Kelley Jones is the artist. And this is 104. Basically, they go over here. There's my man Stoker. And the whole idea of what was Dracula's origin. Okay, there's all different origins that have been postulated for him, particularly in the comics and stuff. Of course, the Coppola film, but in this one, that's what Matt said he wanted to cover. And the friggin' art, man. Dude, fucking Kelley Jones is like on the top of his game. Look at that. Gore, that crazy style he does. A little bit of, I guess, like how Steranko used to do a lot of silhouettes. And Bernie Wrightston, obviously, bringing up legends. And the origin of it is really cool. You see how driven Dracula is. So, and the funny thing, too, is you look at this and you go, hey, that looks like, what's his name, from Sandman. Remember Sam Keith was the artist of the original Sandman comic when it had come out. Remember, Sam Keith did the inks of Matt Wagner for a Mage and other works. So there's a bit of a carryover in the when you see the different artists too. So the whole idea is I don't want to give away the story too much. Dracula is a man driven, and you get to see his origin. He's driven to find power to destroy his enemies. And you see that he sort of ends up kind of like in a little contest with others to gain the ultimate knowledge. And then when you see the whole way of how he becomes a vampire, okay, which in the beginning, I thought it was cool. I just think little touches like this are cool, right? That, you don't want to make Dracula just another guy. They have Vertilax, they have vampires. They are a known thing to even the Christians in this region, obviously. But he is a vampire that is a much different thing, and and there is nudity in this, and my man gets with his sister. You'll see why. Look at that! To draw that tree, to draw the shadows of the branches on the tree, and then the root system. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. He has his own style, but you can see it's the Bernie Wrightston and some of the European stuff here. But anyway, the origins of Dracula and how he becomes basically the uber vampire, different from the other vampires. He essentially is given his power by Satan himself. I guess I sort of gave that away. And the book this was friggin' great, man. And I think this is gonna get published. I don't know if it's gonna be in this format. There's gonna be 3 more of these, man. Excellent work, man. Always a Matt Wagner fan, always a Kelley Jones fan, and to have them together is pretty good, man. All right, Faust, Love of the Damned. When this came out, man, this was a huge thing in the underground comics. Like I said, it was very much at the time. Thrash metal was getting crazy. The death metal was kind of really, starting to, you were starting to find the music. The earliest death metal albums were being released. And this was a collection of Faust, a series that I don't remember if it ever... I remember going, hey, it sort of disappeared. Right? And my friend, oh man, he got to sign one. So he goes to no end when it comes to putting down the money when it comes here. So essentially you had the, at the end, I don't know, it just got hard to find this comic. But all I can say is that Tim Vigil's art, obviously the story is just crazy. The story is essentially this mysterious, like kind of in the vein of Wolverine, the clawed hand, but this mysterious costume, not even a vigilante. He kills criminals, but he kills everybody. When cops come after him, he kills pigs too. If you get in his way, he's gonna cut you in half. But just obviously the early on the art is the black and white, very graphic. I remember the whole thing was the sex and the violence, the nudity, like stuff like that. That was like why there was an age warning on the comic. So and essentially the story, it was that this is told by this woman. She's like a psychiatrist in a mental hospital, and one of her patients disappeared, and now he's showing up tearing people up with claws. But then he gets into a bigger thing because there's this mob boss guy who essentially uses sorcery and Satanism to try to gain control of the world. And so this dude, this crazy guy, essentially is going to be the one to fight him. So and it's just I don't know how to explain. Of course the art gets better as time goes on. Vigil highly detailed. Obviously this was not a monthly comic. This took a long time to come out, but the amount of detail and everything in it, and it gets so crazy. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not even sure exactly what's happening at the end. And there's the evil villainess in the thing. Right? She's like the henchwoman of this dude, of the villain, and of course demons. It's just like you could imagine like a death metal soundtrack, to this. Anyway, I don't want to give away the story. Eventually, they had like a female Faust. I look at some. We'll go in the back here. Look at some of the painted covers. I remember when that was a big deal. Yeah. Okay. This was the one. Adult reading. Wow, it was $2.25 back in 1988. Yeah, it said on the cover something like under 14 or under 6. You have to be at least 14 years old to buy it. So I'm surprised it wasn't higher back then. But yeah, this was like 88. And this was like, you see this when you're like at the age I was at the time. This stuff is getting into metal. You're getting into stuff. You're like, oh, this is horror. I'm getting into horror movies, gory horror movies. So yeah, that's the original cover. I guess this is the new cover they made. Well, it's really great artwork, very explicit. Obviously, she looks like the chick from Berlin. Right? So. Yeah. All right. Take it easy. Whoa. So, In terms of the collection too, I'll just say one thing. Obviously, they have an interview with the creators, which is always cool. Right? They mention it. Of course, the same thing was like when the Gen X age we are. And remember, there was a movie, right? They made a movie of this. Remember, Jeffrey Combs was in it. Yeah, they made a movie of that. I never saw it. I saw the cover of it, but the guy's basically, this guy is my age, old ass guy. He's just like, you know, um. But the idea of how, like, wow, this was really like edgy stuff, man. The only, like, you were about to get like the horror stuff, like the Clive Barker, like the Fly in My Eye, the Taboo stuff like that. You were gonna get these really, horror. In this case, this is sort of like a horror superhero story. And you got people giving the thing. I'll just read something real quick, and this. We know what happened with Ed in April, and remember, I'll just say it again. I wasn't particularly a fan of the guy. Okay, it's just amazing what went down. Okay, when you think about from then to now, what made this guy take his life, okay, was something that was not even. Forget that it was not anything. It would have been next to nothing back in the time when something like this comic was such a big deal that you had to put an age warning on it, right? For adult readings. It's amazing how much has inverted in 30 years. It's amazing how many of these artistic creative types don't have the fucking balls to mention that. But anyway, let me leave that alone. So I'll just read what he said. The legend of the Ramones was that every time they played spawned numerous bands the next day. Faust comics are my Ramones. In the days of 25 highly curated channels on TV and corporate mall rat culture, it was incredible finding something that was actually hardcore and subversive that was also contemporary to the time. Even if I was too young to be feasting my eyes on the content, I'm thrilled that this collection exists for the next generation to devour. And yeah, it was, like I said, I'm not the gore hound I was for the most part, although Terrified 3, I'm going to see it. But yeah, man, check this out, man. This was a legend.